right, so thank you again, Jason and Peony Project. Super excited for today's show with Jake Nix. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Good, man. Dude, it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and I read up a bit and actually had a nice introduction to you coming from a mutual connection. So started learning more about you and just said, I got to dive in and talk to Jake because you have a story that, especially now when there's a lot of people maybe being pushed into a direction that maybe most aren't going to be prepared for, right? But maybe they did everything right and now they're not prepared for it. But you have a story where you took a life where, you know, some things set you sideways and you found a way to really put yourself on a track that created your success. And, you know, we talked a little bit on the intro here about you going from homelessness to top door-to-door salesman, being a millionaire by 25, just by creating a work ethic. What was it that changed that allowed you to find that I'll say gumption for lack of a better word, but the right mold and method to get you moving?
Yeah, no, you know, for me, you know, as human beings, we do the least, right? So a human being is the only species that does not grow to its full potential, right? You never see a tree that's like, you know what, I'm going to stop here. That tree's going to grow as much as it possibly can in its element. But as human beings, we're always going to take the easy road out. I had no choice, but I do want to go back to what you said at first, looking me up online. That's what I love about social media, you know, LinkedIn, your project, because you can really put out there, not as a brag, right? But about, hey, this is who I am as a person. You know, what you do is so much different than who you are. And then you can really, you know, you can look at, you know, people and say, you know, I want to connect with that person. We might not do any business, but hey, I'd love to just sit down and have a conversation. And I love that's the day and age that we're in. Because even, you know, people, you know, hit me up for podcasts and things like that. A lot of times I say no. But when I look at your guys' stuff and what you're about, everything that you're doing, it's like, man, I would love to be, you know, to get to know you guys even better. So I think that's, you know, that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and when you think about it, we all are our own brand, whether we want to or not. I mean, your grandma's your own brand, what she's putting out there. And so for you to have the ability to just put out the right message, what you want to come across on is that, and especially if you want to get in business, into a certain point of business, you have to look at how you're coming across to people, right? Because you're representing yourself in some way and then providing the right resources to give yourself the best ability to succeed. It's massive.
It's huge. And I mean, that can, you know, one connection can change your life, and that can come offline, even if you're, you know, if anybody right now is struggling with not having a job and then they end up listening to this podcast, you know, if you got the right attitude, the thing that took me out of homelessness was having the right attitude. I was living in my car and I had just left cleaning Planet Fitness. I was cleaning Planet Fitness from 10 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning. And I had quit my job waiting tables before because I was embarrassed, right? I lived in my car, like I didn't want to go out and meet people, but I read a book called Think and Grow Rich. And so for me, it's like, you know what? Even though I'm homeless, I'm going to have a good attitude. I'm going to go back to waiting tables. And about 2 weeks in, just because I had a good attitude, a guy wanted to hire me. He said, hey, I'm going to give you $500 to put my playset together. $500 back then was a lot of money. I was able to come out and put that together. It took me 2 weeks in the dead middle of winter. But just because I had a good attitude, you know, somebody's seen that. So there's companies out there right now that are looking for people, not with the right credentials, but with the right attitude and the right spirit to do things. So whatever you got online, just, hey, you know, be positive, because you could have somebody stumble across it and want to do business with you.
Yeah, and you just talking about not growing to your full potential. I mean, it really stands out in your narrative there, right? Too, right? Most times we think that, oh, when the opportunity finally shows up, I'll step up then. I'm not gonna put the work in now, but when that comes, I'll be ready then. But you never are, right? Because that opportunity doesn't come because you're not putting yourself in the right light.
That's right. Yeah, it does not come. You've got to do it before you're ever going to see anything, like planting the seed in the ground. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just like sit there and think, man, I hope I get a plant. Like you have to go through those steps. You got to do it. You got to have all that stuff ready to go. And then at that right time, that opportunity in life is going to present itself, because you're the right person at that time. That people are looking for, you know, the skill sets that people have. And when you're ready for it, like life is going to find that for you.
And so you get that first opportunity, right, to go out there and literally put together a play set, which is awesome, right? But you took that and you didn't just say, okay, that was cool, I'll go back to where I was. You said, okay, I'm going to create outdoor creations, right? I have that correct. And move that forward as a company. Was that the next natural step? Or did you have the confidence to do that? Or what was the logical chain of command?
No, so I'm a firm believer that the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. For me, a lot of times each day doesn't look that different, right? I look at it like a bunch of Post-it notes. Like you take a Post-it note individually, it's flat, but you put a bunch together and there's, that's got some bulk to it. So, for me during that time, nothing was different. Nothing was really changing. And my very first business actually wasn't not outdoor creations, it was trash away. Right at that moment where I was at in my mind, I thought, all right, I'm going to meet a need, because that's what business is: finding a need and meeting a need. So the only thing that I could think of doing that I could do with no money is haul people's trash from their house to their curb on trash days. Out in Oklahoma, they got long driveways. So that was my very first business. For $20 a month, I had 4 customers. Had to get up at like 5 a.m. to go take the trash out to the curb. And take it back. Now that business model didn't work well, because for $80 a month, it's not really sustainable.
Yeah.
But that's where I was at and I failed. The business failed. I used all my money for marketing, and I was ashamed. You know what I mean? I was like, man, dude, I failed. But I was like, well, I'm going to keep going, which led me into outdoor creations, which led me into roofing, which led me to flipping houses. I'm not a smart guy by any means. But for me, I refuse to concede to any other outcome besides that which I desire. So it's like I've developed into who I am now, not based off of going to school, going to college. I hate school. I hate things like that. Like it could be for some people, but it just wasn't for me. And I thought that was the only way to succeed. But for me, I was like, I'm going to be the best, right? Because there's laws in the universe to where when you tap into those laws, whether you're the smartest, the brightest, or not, like you're gonna win. So it's like whatever situation I'm in, I'm gonna be the absolute best that I possibly can, and that's what propelled me to the next. It's always my next steps.
Yeah, it's the way you use failing, right? Because you said, okay, that failed. It doesn't feel good. No one can say it feels good, but you didn't just say, okay, I'm gonna go hide under a rock. You transition into the next part. What can I use from what I just did? How can I build that into the next stage? Okay, when the next thing comes, what lessons can I learn there, and keep putting that narrative forward, right? And it's those steps that you continue to carry forward, where you just, okay, if I keep falling down, I just got to keep getting up. Just if I end that last time up, then I'm going to be in a better place than I was before. What led you into becoming the top salesman in the nation?
It's like going back to like the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. And one of the biggest things you've seen probably on my Instagram egoless. And that's what I started my brand on. It's trademarked, by the way, just in case anybody's listening and wants to do it. But that's really what it was, because our ego is the thing that keeps us from, we don't want to fail because of our ego. You know what I mean? I've got a 15-month-old son right now. Dude falls all over the place. I mean, he's like, you'd think if he was like a grown man, you'd be like, dude, you need to stop. But he doesn't. It's fun to him. And it's because of our egos that we don't want to fail, or we don't want to look bad. And there were so many times, like I had such a big problem with telling people like I messed up. I was so scared of failure, but now like I embrace it. Like if I do something wrong, say, hey, I failed, I messed up. What do we do next? You know what I mean? Even on this podcast with what happened yesterday, all that stuff, like today, it's like, hey, here's where I'm at today. Here's what I can give you. Does that make sense? And so not like, not even being prepared. It's like, it's okay to fail, because life is not going to be perfect. But what led me to being the number one door-to-door salesperson is is taking away my ego out of the situation. Because when you would knock on a door, people would come out and cuss at you. They would do all these things. And instead of me getting like upset and being like, oh, that person's dumb, like I had to go, I put myself empathetic in their shoes. How would I feel if somebody's knocking on my door? When I put myself in their shoes, I was able to overcome that customer's objections, just because of the simple fact that I took myself out of the equation. Hey, I'm here as a servant, right? I believe that whoever serves well is going to live well. And that's the way that I take to every single one of my, businesses and opportunities. And that's really what it led down to.
It's a common theme for people that are successful like yourself, that instead of focusing on ourselves and saying, I want happiness, it's you give happiness. That's how you get happiness. You put it out, right? Because typically if you want something and you're not giving it, well, then the universe is not just going to say, okay, you know what, we're just going to give you happiness because you're sulking right now. But you start finding that way to put that effort out, turning the narrative around and saying, yeah, oh, this person won't, just slam the door in my face. Well, they have a million reasons. Maybe something just bad just happened. It's a bad phone call. Maybe they're waiting for something important, and you showed up. There's so many different things that are not part of our thought track. It's all about us, right? It's all about our ego. Yep. How is this going to be perceived? And when you take that out of the equation, the world it's a different world, right? You take off the glass, and say, okay, wow, like there's a lot of things happening there. We're just one part of the equation, and you hear it a lot.
No,
go ahead.
Oh, it's I look at it like The Matrix is one of my favorite movies. Being unplugged, like Neo was, and to where then you see things for really what it is. Because just like you're talking about, like they could be having an important call. The right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. And as human beings right now, we have an instant connection to our phone. At our fingertips right now, you can Google absolutely anything and everything that you want to know, right? So it's up for us now to change our sales model or our business model to give people all of the information that they need to make a decision. Hey, I know it's not the right time, but when you do, here's what I got. To close a sale, I don't know how much sales, stuff people, follow, through this, but, it takes five times to follow up with somebody before they'll say yes. And most of the time salespeople think, following up is, hey, I'm following up on the proposal that I sent you. That's not it. It's giving them a reason to think about you. Hey, even if they, say you talk about their favorite sports team, find an article, that would mean relevance or value to them. Say, hey, just came across this. I thought you'd like it. Even if they don't respond, they're thinking about you. And that's all that you have to do.
Some of the best things, like you said right there, is you're creating a relationship, because it may not come from them, the sale, but when they look back and they say, Jake, man, he was a nice guy. We were talking about, the Tennessee Titans, or whatever it was. And all of a sudden now, he sent me an article on it later on, but my neighbor needs this. So, I'll pass it on to my neighbor, because Jake, he was just a nice guy. So I want to, he didn't push this down my throat when it was not something I needed. He helped me to that next stage of understanding. And that's just massive in life, right? Finding the key to help.
People will always forget what you said. People will always forget what you did, but people will never, ever forget how you made them feel. I can look back in my life and look at somebody and be like, I don't like that person. Why don't I like that person? I don't know. I don't remember what they said or what they did. I just don't like that person, because everything is based on a feeling. Our communication is the only reason why we learn to talk is because we have to get our feelings across. You know what I mean? So we think that talking and typing, like that's like the smallest part of the equation. How can I make that person feel special? And that's part of my daily affirmations. I make people feel special. I make people feel good. I do what I say I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I even hopped on this podcast, even though it wasn't convenient. I said I was going to be on the podcast. So I'm going to move things around because that's what I said I'm going to do. And when we put those things in our life as staples and building blocks, the world really is ours, because nobody else is doing it. It's so easy. It's so easy to win in life when you are doing the things that nobody else is doing.
Yeah, and it's huge, right? And the thing is, it just, so many people aren't doing it because it's what they know they should be doing, but it just makes them feel that much more uncomfortable, right? And we just don't want to feel uncomfortable in life. We'd rather do it, instead of doing something like, okay, you need to know the diet. It's not that hard. Okay, just eat correctly. Don't kill yourself with food, right? So when people have that problem, it's just because they can't resist something that they're like, they'll worry about tomorrow, or putting anything off to the next day, right? Because we can't commit to being successful or anything if we can't make that commitment to ourselves first, right? If we can't change the narrative and say, I'm going to do this for me first, well, then you're never going to be able to show up for anybody else.
No, and your feelings will let you down every time they feel like it. You know what I mean? My feelings during the day is like, some days I'm motivated. Like I'm going to take on the world, and and nothing really special happens, even though I'm motivated. There's other days where I'm like, man, why do I even do this, right? But on those days where I feel like I'm not even motivated are oftentimes the most special, the most like, dang, that was a big day. A lot of times it came from days that I wasn't even feeling it, because the feelings are going to let you down. It only matters what you actually do.
And where it transcends is talking about that, right? Because so many people, I mean, social is a great point to build a brand, but if you want to fake like you're something, you can go out there and act like anything you want right there, but it's the message that you're going to carry through, because the message is going to come out. And there are hard days. You can't learn from just having great days every day. You would get nowhere, right? And you wouldn't see it as anything beneficial, because it would just be what you thought was the norm. But you have to have those days where you're challenged, right? Because if we're not challenged, well, what else is there? What else is left? We're not finding that challenge.
Exactly.
Cool, man. Well, we're coming up on time here, man. I super appreciate having you on the show, and I know it's a couple crazy days, so super excited you're carving out time here. For people that want to reach out, learn more about you, learn more about the brand, best place to find you. Yeah,
find me mostly active on Instagram, Jake Nix, and actually it's going to be under Jake J Nix. And I don't even have anything to sell, because I don't make money off the face of what I do online. I just say, man, I love helping people. People ever want to have like a 30-minute consulting call. I don't do life coaching because I don't want to hold people's hands. But what I will do is give people the information that they need to succeed. And all that they have to do to get a 30-minute coaching call is to donate any amount to a orphanage, and cross the number out, donate any amount that they want to, and send me a receipt. And I'll carve 30 minutes out to talk, to talk with them. And I've helped people start businesses. Help people through all kinds of things, because really what it comes down to is that the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. That's business, that's personal life, that's everything. Because who you are is so much more important than what you do. And if we can correct that, the sky's the limit.
That's awesome, man. Jake, that's a great way to take us out. Super appreciate your time.
Awesome, Jake. So I look forward to connecting with you more in the future.
Same here. Everyone listening, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Join us for your second cup of coffee every Monday through Friday at noon.
Live every day, bringing us our best content we've done so far. Super excited, super engaging, bunch of great guests. We're here to answer your questions, and we so appreciate you listening. Make sure to check us out.
Can't wait to see you.